everybody. Just a short note before we begin. It's been standard practice at Waycross Community Media to provide you full text for issues for our viewers for the election formats we conduct. As per state law, ballot language must be first certified by the Ohio Secretary of State's office. Unfortunately, Secretary of State Jennifer Bruner's office has been unable to complete this duty in a timely manner, and we are unable to provide you with ballot language for tonight's live forum. So with that, we would like to formally welcome you all to Waycross Community Media's live election forum for issue 27, the Hamilton County Sales Tax Referendum. We're very fortunate to have with us tonight two proponents and two opponents for the issue. Representing the proponents, we have David Pepper, County Commission Vice President. We have Wendell Young, former retired sergeant of the Cincinnati Police Department. We want to welcome you gentlemen this evening.
Thank you.
On the opponent side, from No Jail Tax PAC, we have Mr. Suhith Wickrema and Mr. Mike Shryock. Got it right, almost. We'll get better as the night goes on, but we want to welcome all Waycross Community Media here this evening. In just a moment, both the proponent side and opponent side will have up to 2 minutes to make an opening statement, after which they will field questions from myself as well as you, the viewer at home, and we will put that email address and phone number up at the conclusion of the opening statement. So with that, I believe, Mr. Pepper, you're going to do the 2 minutes, so we've got 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Thanks so much. It's great to be back. Issue 27. Something today special happened and rare happened in Hamilton County. We had the Republican and Democratic parties come together on an issue, and that was they both came together to endorse issue 27, which is on the ballot this November. Now, why did they come together to do this? For the same reason myself and Mr. Young and a whole lot of others support moving forward in the way we propose. We all realize that right now, unfortunately, crime and the crisis of crime is the top issue we face in Hamilton County. And both parties realize, as a lot of us do, that the current approach to fighting crime is not working. We have crime that remains too high. We have an overcrowded system. We have a system where far too many people going through the system are reoffending very rapidly, very high percentage there, and because of that we have an overcrowded system, and we have a system that's spending a whole lot of money but not getting results. We all agree, Hamilton County's Republicans and Democrats, that it's time to fix that system. And the reason they've come together is because there's now a comprehensive plan to solve this problem. What does our plan do? It takes on the issue of an overcrowded system by adding new space and replacing space that's more than 100 years old and simply isn't working, is not a safe place to house anybody. It is adding police to the streets, continuing sheriff's patrols that are working over the Rhine that are very effective, expanding them throughout the county, as well as helping local jurisdiction add police to the street. We know that works. Police presence, community policing makes a real difference. But we're also taking on the broader issues of how to stop this cycle of a revolving door where people go in the system, serve a term, come out, and reoffend very quickly. And so in addition to the facilities I mentioned, we are also going to intervene and make sure that whether it's with at-risk youth or with nonviolent offenders, we intervene and do everything we can to lower the percentage of them that are reoffending. Very different from last year's plan.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Shryock.
Yes, thank
2
you.
minutes for your opening statement.
Yes, Suhith and I are very concerned about the safety of the community, and we believe that more jail will not keep us safe. What we propose is prevention of crime in the first place and restoring offenders so that they do not reoffend. Both of us have worked in the field. I've worked for 38 years working in this, with people with mental illness and addiction, people coming in and out of prison. And we believe that we can help people by offering them programs that will help them change their behaviors and prevent programs such as school dropout programs, and that jail really doesn't change people's behavior, and that we want a safe community too. We just want to do it a different way. And we happen to be very pleased that Mr. Pepper has emphasized the ideas about treatment. But Suhith and I have both worked in treatment programs in the jails, and they are inferior to programs in the community. Community programs like First Step Home, where women can be with their children while they're going through rehab, rather than the women being in jail and the children in foster care. Prospect House, Joseph House, because people with addictions need at least a year in a caring, supportive environment to get well. and jail does not fit that bill. There aren't even enough programs in the community for people to follow up in treatment if they do start a program in jail, which is not going to be long enough. So we would rather see our money put in community programs and prevention, restoring offenders so that they don't cause more crime, more victims. We want to do more than just lock people up.
Great, thank you very much. At this point in time, we will begin taking your questions from the phones and the email address. And if you're joining us here live on the 24th of September, you'll see that number, the email address come up on your screen. That's 825-3971, or via the email live@waycross.org. Simple rules of the road. Number one, you must be a resident of Hamilton County to participate. Secondly, on both the phone calls and email address, you must give your full name, address, and phone numbers for verification. However, you will only be identified by your first name and what part of town you are coming to us from. Your questions must be phrased that they are given to both sides of the issue. You can't do one or the other. And you have all of 20 seconds for the phone in to give your question out. So we're going to keep you on your toes tonight. I'm going to start out with the proponents. I'm going to give them a little time to talk more about the nuts and bolts about what this plan is, and then I'm going to go to the opponent's side and have you give your input on what they plan to do. So, Mr. Pepper, if we can keep it under 3 minutes, just the nuts and bolts about what the plan provides.
Great, thank you. Too often this is, and we just heard it a second ago, proposed as we're doing only one versus another. You know, we shouldn't do this because we should do prevention, and some people say we should only do prevention and not do the jail, vice versa. What we're trying to do, and this is why, as I mentioned, both parties endorse it, is a common sense balance. We know we need to have enough jail space, particularly for the more violent folks, but we also know that we need to do enough prevention so we don't have this repeat cycle. And myself, I agree with the two gentlemen on a lot of issues around the prevention part. But just because we need to do prevention doesn't mean we don't also need to have enough jail space for now and the future. We're trying to do both and have a balance. So the plan does achieve that balance. It does several things. One, as I mentioned, it adds police to the street. It continues sheriff's patrols and over the Rhine that are working. Expands those patrols to other parts of the county that have requested the same help. The crime numbers and over the Rhine, in part because of these sheriff's patrols, are down considerably. That's a very good thing. And we've had mayors from Lincoln Heights and other jurisdictions asking us for the same help. So this plan will expand those sheriff's patrols to other parts of the county. Another thing we are doing, just as we've seen in the city and over the Rhine in particular, getting police out on the street makes a difference. So we are helping local jurisdictions by taking on some of the costs they currently pay for county emergency communications. Every 911 call made into the county in Sharonville or Forest Park costs that jurisdiction $14 per call. You get a fire and you get 40 phone calls. That's 40 times $14. That's coming right out of the budgets that these local jurisdictions could be using to put police on the street. We're going to take on more of that cost so every jurisdiction in this county can put more police on the street. So there's that law enforcement side. We are also working with the prosecutor because we want to be able to get the most violent people, the ones who are violating federal gun laws. We want to get them into the federal system, out of our local justice system, and into the federal system. We'll get the most serious penalties. These are the folks that are shooting up and frankly killing people and shooting people throughout the city and county. We are adding prosecutors to do that. We are also, though, solving this long-time problem we've had of too little jail space, and in many cases, the wrong kind of jail space, where we have people sitting in old warehouses where they have no treatment and they reoffend shortly after they get out. So we're going to fix that issue. And finally, and this addresses the points that Mr. Shryock made, and I agree with him on, we need to do a better job of treating people with mental illnesses, with drug addictions, and others. And I agree that we should do that as much as we can outside of a jail. So our plan actually proposes dollars for treatment within a jail when that's appropriate, and sometimes it is, but even more dollars for treatment outside of jails, because oftentimes that's a better way to go. So that's why we call it a comprehensive safety plan.
Thank you.
Thanks.
To the opponents, they were talking prevention versus jail space, striking the right balance. They think they've got the right balance. What's your...
Of course, we disagree. We got to remember the history of how this plan came about. In November of 2006, again, both parties, all the major newspapers, and all the major political players endorsed expanding the jail. the people of Hamilton County decided expanding the jail and creating the 30th largest jail in the country was not a good idea. Then they came up with another plan with some window dressing. So we support treatment, and what we are telling people is, if you want to support treatment, vote for the mental health levy. So, and mental health and recovery services levy, and vote no on issue 27. What we are finding out is putting money in, I think about $1.9 million for treatment. That is also after cutting 2 programs that are currently in and putting that in the new budget. So that's not adequate treatment. And there's a big difference. We start the analysis before people go to jail. Justice Policies Institute has shown that to develop good, safe communities, what you need is investing money in workforce development. From the county general fund, there's $0 to workforce development. There are other monies, but not from the county general funds. The tax money that we are collecting would be going to the general funds. So developing this plan, we don't see it as a comprehensive plan.
Got a call from Carolyn asking how jail beds.
We see this as expanding the jail and giving the treatment as a window dressing. And we are also very concerned that the Sheriff's Patrol, the Sheriff's Department is not part of the collaborative agreement. They are not covered under the Civilian Complaint Authority. Those were hard-fought battles, and this plan would be circumventing all those hard-fought victories.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to give the proponent side opposition to respond to that.
Sure. Wanted to set the record straight on a couple of things. The Democratic Party did not endorse last November. A lot of people didn't support it because they didn't want just to build a jail for the reasons we've talked about. If all we do is build another building, and that's it, and we don't go after the fact that we have a 70% recidivism rate, we won't solve it. So the unique part of this election versus last is that we have both parties supporting it, and a whole cross-section of Democrats, Republicans, and a lot of other people who are supporting it because it's a balanced approach versus last year. Let me just say, as someone who negotiated the collaborative, that the Sheriff's Patrols are working. They have reduced crime dramatically in a neighborhood that has not seen that kind of reduction in a long time. There hasn't been a complaint filed with the Sheriff's Department, I checked on this, about those officers' work. We've heard a lot of compliments, but not a complaint. The collaborative attorneys themselves worked with the sheriff and actually agreed that it did need to be covered by the collaborative. So it's working, and it's something that we hope to expand to other parts of the county. It's a good thing.
Thank you. And I'll give the opponents the last word on it if you want.
It is true that there have been any complaints from the Sheriff's Department. It's because you cannot complain to the Civilian Complaint Authority about the Sheriff's Department. So of course people are not going to go complain. That's one reason. And Commissioner Platoon did vote for the jail expansion last year. Then after it was voted down, it came up with some more window dressing. So the main Democratic leader in the county did vote for it.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, we have our first caller. And I do want to apologize for Mr. Wickrema for the voice from above, but we do have our first caller on the line. We have Caroline from Clifton. Caroline, are you there?
Yes.
What's your question, Caroline?
I've heard that recent studies have shown that we already have a high percentage of the homeless and the mentally ill being arrested. And why shouldn't we investigate why these people are going to jail instead of other programs rather than providing more jail beds for more of the same?
Okay, thank you. I'm going to give both sides of you the chance. We'll start with the opponents on this one.
Well, that's a good point, because we have enough jail space right now. Our jail is full of people with misdemeanor, nonviolent offenses, people with mental illness,